Togozani, Togozani. Guys, please tap the screen. That way I know you can hear me. Please tap the screen for me. I really appreciate it. Please tap the screen, tap the screen. Let me know you're here. Togozani, Togozani, Hotep Royals. Please tap the screen. Just tap. Thank you. There we go. Please keep tapping. Let's get that number up there, number of likes on the live, because then it goes in the algorithm. Then we get more of us here. We're going to have an interesting discussion tonight. Togoza, Nombulelo, Togoz. 1 second. Yo. All right, let's do this. Togozani, welcome. Togozani. I'm actually got someone here that I'm going to bring onto the conversation after I introduce it to you. But let's get our numbers up. And then once our numbers are up, I will introduce our topic. Togozani. Now, this topic really, I know that it says sister to sister. Yes, it is sister to sister, but I would really love if we can have our melanated kings here, because this one will assist you to assist the women in your lives. It's very important that we always keep in mind that, you know, the melanated kings are fathers, they are uncles, they are brothers, they are sons. So this one will apply to you all. Guys, I do this as a way of just cleansing space, just getting rid of the evil eye, particularly palm-colored creatures. I don't want them anywhere near me. I'm like, get thee behind me. It was Satan. So yeah, let's get that number up. As soon as we get to like 50, I'm going to start talking. Jocelyn, I see you. Please stay around. This topic is so important to the two of us. So please stick around. And so the topic we want to really talk about, and I promised to do this topic quite a while ago. Yes, I'm cleansing you. You've been cleansed by, you've been what? You've been cursed from being a U.S. citizen. Sorry, I don't mean to make light of your problem, but please don't write your problems on here. I don't know where you are. You need cleansing from being a U.S. citizen. Now, what could possibly be wrong there? What could be going on? Who cursed you? You know, those are things that we can talk in private, but definitely not here. And by the way, I do not do free consultations. So if you really need my help, then you'll do the necessary. There's a number that's on one of my videos. You can look into that. But I'm not here for that. I'm here because we need to talk about a lot. Loss of women's reproductive rights. You own your reproductive rights. Let me tell you, you're a powerful spiritual being. Don't let these people get into your heads and make you feel like you're some sort of powerless creature, okay? There are ways and there are ways. There are ways and there are ways. And we as melanated beings, we have our grandmother's ancient knowledge about a lot of things. So don't let this matrix get to your head, because if you allow this matrix to mess with your head, then they've won. And who wins over Goddess? Who wins over the mother of mankind? Nonsense. All right. Oh, we're at 137. Okay. Hotep Royals. Hotep family. So today's topic is a topic that I've been meaning to talk about, and I made a promise that we would. I wanted us to talk about firstborn daughters. So if you're a firstborn daughter, you better hit that like. I want to talk to firstborn daughters, right? I want to talk about it from different angles and perspectives, and then I'll have some people come on here and share their experience as firstborn daughters. And just so you know, I am a firstborn daughter. I am the eldest in a family of 4. I have a brother who comes after me and 2 sisters. So a lot of what I speak about here, most things that I come to talk about here, are things that come from personal experience. And I also have a firstborn daughter. I have 4 daughters, so obviously there's a firstborn in there. And there's a lot of complexity with the firstborn child. And that's what I'd like us to talk about, because nobody really ever addresses the wound of the firstborn child. Because truth is, there is a wound. We talk about the mother wound, we talk about the father wound, we talk about, but the firstborn child has a particular wound. First and foremost, your firstborn child is usually the parent's experiment, right? The firstborn child is usually the parent's experiment. If both parents are together, they're kind of trying to figure it out as they go along. Most times you find by the time the second one and the third one come along, they have experience now in parenting. So the experience of a second-born child and a third-born child are somewhat different from the experience of a firstborn child. A lot of mistakes are made with the firstborn child, particularly if you're not doing conscious parenting. And even if you are, the complexities that come with being the first in a lineage or in a family is sometimes it's inevitable. It can't be helped. So as a firstborn child, the first thing that you are, number one, is your parents' experiment, right? Because no child comes into this world with a manual. So whatever expectations that your parents have of you as a firstborn child, especially firstborn daughter, I'm talking about firstborn daughters, it becomes very difficult because they have external expectations, they have external ideas about what it is to raise this firstborn daughter of theirs. What they fail to realize most of the time and take into account is the fact that she comes into the world with her own personality, with her own characteristics that may not necessarily fit whatever ideas they have about parenting. That's number one. Number two, with parents to firstborn children is most often the fear of getting it wrong. And so they project that fear of getting it wrong onto this child. So you find that sometimes the firstborn child, there's a lot of control. The parents want to make sure they're doing it right. And so the firstborn child, the firstborn daughter particularly, has that burden of, why am I speaking about daughters? Because I'm speaking also because of the social conditioning that happens to women. And most of my healing practice is with women and for women. So to the brothers, I could not even speak on behalf of a firstborn son because I haven't had one, and I'm a girl. So I teach usually, especially in terms of healing, from lived experience. So you find that depending on geographically where this child is born, everywhere you are, there are always social expectation of that firstborn daughter, right? She needs to come out right. When she goes to school, when the siblings come, she's the standard bearer, right? So there is this inherent fear in the parents of getting it wrong, because now this is the person who's supposed to set the example for the others, right? So how she comes out becomes very important to the parents. They have a vested interest in making sure she comes out right, because then they are the others behind her and they need an example. How many of us firstborn daughters know this very well, where your parents would often say to you, you're the oldest, you should know better. You're the oldest. If you're going to behave like this, what are your siblings supposed to do? I'm one of those. So my parents were very hard on me as a firstborn child. The expectations on me were very high. And I tried to live up to those expectations, and unfortunately, when I didn't meet those expectations, the consequences were very harsh too. And by the time I was 8 or 9 years old, I had become aware that there was differential treatment in terms of myself and my siblings, because my brother and I are 2 years apart. Then with my other sister, it's 4 years. And then with the baby, it's 8 years. We still call her the baby. And so I found that the way I was treated was very different for the same things that my siblings would do. It was almost like they got a more lenient punishment to me. Now, as a child, that's very hard to process. And there was always the constant reminder that you're the oldest. When it comes to having to sacrifice. So, for example, in the household, if there wasn't enough of something, I, as the oldest, would often be told that, no, but you're the oldest, let your younger ones have this, right? So they again, what that taught me, and this is important, I need you to hear this because I speak from experience. What that taught me is that my needs were always to come secondary to everybody else's needs. When you internalize that as a child, you don't limit it to your needs within your family or your sibling group. It then expands out to your needs vis-a-vis everybody else who you'll ever meet. Do you see how problematic that can be? And that programming, because remember, this is happening from the time the second sibling comes, where you are no longer the only child. From the time the second sibling comes and you are now the oldest, that programming begins. Where you now understand, and you understand it. And as a child, it's a matter of course that, okay, so I'm the oldest, therefore I need to take care. That's the other thing. Many firstborn daughters become the caretakers of their siblings by default. Even more so in a single parent family. And mine was that from the age of when I was 12. My dad passed on when I was 12. So my mom became a single mom at 34. I was 12 at that time. I went from being 12 years old to being 30 like that. Not because of anything she said, but because I understood now that I had to grow up, because I had to be my mother's right-hand person. And I'm still my mother's right-hand person till today. But that has repercussions, and I want us to have the courage to look at some of those repercussions, right? There's something we talked about when I said we'll talk about firstborn daughters, and that one is the people pleasing, right? Whereas when you are a firstborn daughter, number one, like I said, the punishment for doing wrong things is always harsh on you. So you learn very quickly that I need to make sure that I cover my tracks whenever I do something, so that I always appear to be good. I always appear to be perfect, right? Number one, because you don't want that harsh punishment. But number two, because you feel the pressure and you know that there are these other little ones that are looking up to you. You've already been told over and over again that you're the oldest, right? So those are things that need to be healed, because as you grow into young adulthood, those are some of the programs that set you up to be vulnerable to abuse by anybody, abuse by your friends, abuse by partners that come into your life. Because why? Because you're always trying to please, and you're always putting yourself after everybody else. Does that make sense? The other problem with being a firstborn daughter is, whether you like it or not, you are a leader. Now, a leader, you can imagine you are 9 years old, but already you have to develop leadership qualities because you have a pack behind you. And they do look up to you. I mean, these creatures look up to you. These little creatures behind you really look up to you, you know. And it's quite fascinating when you're young, because when you suddenly realize how much power you have, that power is often open to a lot of abuse, you know. I remember times where I'd look at my siblings, and if I said to my siblings, listen, we're going to do XYZ, nobody would question me. It was like, okay, we're doing it. Like, even if it was something that was, or I would instigate something. Another thing I was very good at is, because they were very obedient, I wielded power over this little set of beings. I could send them to do things for me that I know that if I did them, I would get into trouble. So I would send them to do those things, because I knew that whatever punishment came, it wouldn't be as harsh on them as it would have been if I had done it. So, for example, like stealing cookies, you know, I knew who to send to do that errand. The youngest, because at the most, what she'd get is she'd just get a scolding. But God forbid that I would go and steal some cookies. What I would get is, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're too old to be doing such things. Meanwhile, I'm only 9 years old. But I learned very quickly that no, man, these creatures, I didn't ask to take this role, but I have some power over these people, and therefore they will become my servants. I mean, I laugh about it now, but because when I look back, and I was, to be honest, I'm a mischievous person by nature. I am a prankster. So even pranks that I wanted to pull that I knew would get me into serious trouble, I had 3 people that I could send, and they would do it for me, and they would take their punishment too, you know. If I wanted something from my mom and I knew that if I go and ask, yeah, the answer will be a sharp no. And you know, no is a complete sentence. So I would send one of them. And you see, the youngest was always the one. Even the 2 before her learned very quickly that if we wanted anything, we send this young one. But on a serious note, you know, there are a lot of wounds. One of the things, and for me, it didn't happen this way, but I do know from speaking to some of my mutuals that there can be a lot of resentment that comes with the position of, and it feels like an imposed position, because you didn't, well, we'll talk about the contracts that we sign before we come into this realm, but in this realm that we're dealing with, it's not a position that you asked for yourself, right? You didn't ask to be born first, right? You didn't. And so you find yourself in that position, and all the things that happen, and you're looking and you're thinking to yourself, man, you know, F these little creatures. F these little creatures, because pressure, you know, there's a lot of pressure on you from the parents, and then they're busy looking up to you to do the right thing all the time. And it's like, the firstborn daughter very hardly has a childhood, is what I'm trying to say. Many of us as firstborn daughters have had to go deep inside to find the little girls that experienced arrested development because they had to grow up so quickly. We've had to go there to do some inner healing of those little girls, right? Many of the mother and the father wounds are as a result of the fact that some of us were firstborn children. I remember my dad. I idolized my father like nothing. And, you know, I remember that every time I did something, so for example, if he asked for a glass of water and I brought it to him and I happened to trip and I fall, it would always be, why are you so clumsy? And what he didn't realize, of course, was that because he was God to me, those words would cut so deep, and I internalized that. And I found myself at like 15, 16, I would say things to myself like, oh my gosh, I'm so clumsy. If I bumped someone, I would find myself apologizing so profusely. If I dropped anything, even when I was now in my own space, because I left home when I was very young, I would find myself sort of going into a panic because it triggered, breaking anything triggered the response I would get from my dad, which is that I was clumsy. Right? So why am I sharing personal story? Because I am a firstborn child, and because, yes, I have had to do a lot of healing around the wounding that happens when you're a firstborn child. Right? So that position of leadership is not a position that you ask for in this knowing. Now, I want to look at it from a spiritual perspective. And I had to battle with this because I remember once it was revealed to me that before I came into this realm, I was spirit elsewhere. And I chose first and foremost, I chose my parents. Second of all, I chose the position that I then came into this world as, which is as a firstborn daughter. As I have grown spiritually, it became very clear to me that my ancestral gift and my ancestral calling had a lot to do with my position in the family as well. And that was a tough one for me because it was kind of a heavy burden. If unguvusumuzi, meaning if you're the one who is supposed to hold the family together, if you're the one who has the mandate to push the family forward, it's a heavy burden. But ancestrally and contractually, that is what I chose to incarnate as. And that was a hard one because I tell you, being a firstborn child to a single widowed mother with 3 siblings was not easy. It was not a walk in the park. Right? So when I came to this understanding and this knowing is when my healing started, because the first question I asked is, how could I have chosen such a hard path for myself? And then the answers for me personally started coming. And for each firstborn daughter, those answers will be different based on your situation, based on your parentage. Right? Who are your parents? There's a lot of wounding with firstborn daughters, particularly those who were born and then they were left at home with grandmother. And then mother left you and went and married elsewhere. Now that's a whole other wounding that takes place there because yes, you are the firstborn daughter, but you're also the abandoned daughter. So there are serious issues of abandonment with that kind of a firstborn daughter who feels rejected and abandoned because her mother left her with grandmother and went off and started a new family. This is very common on the continent, and a lot of you know this. It's a very painful position because most times what causes the mother to leave firstborn daughter with grandma to go off and marry and start a new family elsewhere is because her own father has either denied the pregnancy or not wanted anything to do with the mother. So there is a lot of wounding that I think firstborn daughters really have to do, given your parentage, given the circumstances within which you were born. But we all have these wounds that are so deep. And unless you deal with those wounds, not only does it stagnate your own life, but if you then have children yourself, and you are in that state of that unhealed state, and you have a firstborn daughter, you are going to perpetuate the same thing. And this is the cycle of generational pain, generational trauma. It's not a generational curse. It's simply generational trauma. Guys, please tap the screen so we can like go. So I wanted us to really delve into that, and I wanted to offer an invitation to the queens, particularly the firstborn daughters, because I've come to an even deeper understanding, which is the firstborn daughters are the ones who are going to be the standard bearers and the leaders in this new dispensation of the divine feminine. Do we choose it? No. Do you have an option? Probably not. Because the same way that you didn't have an option to be the leader of the pack in your own family is the same way you're not going to have much of an option to be the leader of the pack, you know, in community, in your community, in society, in the world. You see, this whole thing is orchestrated from way before you incarnated into this realm. And it's only as you grow spiritually that you begin to connect the dots and say, so this was what was all about. It also brings you to a place of acceptance, where instead of constantly whining and complaining about your responsibilities, because there are a lot of responsibilities with that position, you come to a place of acceptance and peace with the fact that you have these responsibilities and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't shift that position. That's the position you were born in. And that's the calling and purpose you were born for. The key to the healing and why it's so important is because we are the ones who have a lot to learn about self-care and self-love. So unless you heal, you are basically ineffective in this position of leadership that you have. And you can get run down so quickly. You'll get run down financially. You'll get run down spiritually. You'll get run down physically. You'll get run down psychologically, emotionally. Right? So the healing becomes very important so that you can be effective in your role. Your role won't change, but you just become a healthier version of yourself in that role. We are the ones who have to learn boundaries, because many of us grew up without even knowing what a boundary is. We are the ones who have to learn to give to self before we give to others. Because the paradigm we grew up in says, give to others because you're the oldest. Give to others, give to others, give to others. And I'll tell you something that is a huge problem in a setup is in intimate relationships, a lot can go wrong because you give and you give and you give under the assumption that your partner will know that you need to receive. But here's the problem. Firstborn daughters are so strong. Somebody once said, the firstborn daughter is the first male in the family. When I read that, I felt it. Like I felt that. The firstborn daughter is the first male in the family. Meaning to say, if you're the firstborn daughter, you represent the kind of leadership that a male would have in the family. And nowadays, we all know that that's BS, because even firstborn daughters, meaning there's a brother, and then you are the first daughter. Guess what happens? You are the firstborn daughter. Hi! Is anybody hearing me out there? So that leadership role can fall on you as the second child, but you are the firstborn daughter. Let me hold it here for a second. Let me hold it here. Jocelyn, come on. You've got a story to tell. Let's have this conversation. I'm inviting Jocelyn. Guys, Jocelyn is somebody that you guys might remember or know already. Jocelyn is one of my spiritual kids. We've known each other for about 4 years. So we've done a lot of healing work together, her and I. Jocelyn, where are you? Jocelyn. Guys, I'm sorry I'm not reading comments. You guys were writing them so quickly. Somebody said you were bad. Hi, boo. I was not bad. I'm just a fun-loving creature. I'm mischievous. And you know what? I'm 52. I haven't changed. I haven't changed. Even my mother today sometimes will say to me, "When will you grow up?" Because I'll still play pranks. I'll still do the crazy things that really, honestly, sometimes I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" But then I've come to understand where that energy comes from too. If you are an ancestrally gifted person and you happen to have what we call manono or child spirits, then you're forever a kid. No matter what you do, you can't even help yourself. Okay, Jocelyn, please ask to be invited. Just press there, and then I'll bring you on. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot of things that we need to heal and delve deep into. So I want you guys to hold that thought where I said, even if you're the second child, but you are the first daughter, and there's a brother in front of you, you are the firstborn daughter. Okay? Okay. All right, here she comes. Hello, Zatogoza J. How are you?
Doing pretty well. How about you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Are you getting cold over there?
No, the weather be awfully warm here.
Yeah, it's getting cold. It's getting cold here. Anyway, girl child, we are talking about firstborn daughters. Let's have some story or some experience. Tell me, talk to us.
Yep, first daughter, but I have an older brother.
Ah,
And either
I
people,
didn't know that. How come I didn't know that?
well, either people thought we were twin or they thought I was the older.
You have never mentioned a brother. I know about all your sisters.
My brother are quiet. They were quiet.
Yeah, the estrogen swamps him out, right? Too much feminine energy. He's just like, "Eh, let me just lie here quietly." So tell me, what's your experience? I mean, for me, you are a firstborn daughter because, yeah, you
Mhm.
have all the signs and symptoms of a firstborn daughter. So talk to me.
Yeah, as a firstborn daughter, sometimes people thought I was the favorite, but no, you know, um, I have to raise my siblings. Four, well, three girl and one boys.
Right.
And my little brother, early on, he learned to keep quiet. He's just, very quiet boy. But yeah, it's almost like I raised my parents.
Wow.
I raised them basically.
You raised your parents too?
I mean, as you know, all the responsibility was on me. You know, like all the errands and all the very young age. The expectation was high. I was expected to be mature to understand things that I have no business. To understand. And yeah, I did say earlier that we didn't have a childhood, and I don't remember ever being a kid.
Mamoy.
Yeah, I have to be a little adult.
You know what? There's some interference. There's some funny sound coming through. I don't know where it's coming from on your end. But here's the thing. If I can just share something on what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I found as the firstborn daughter is that you mature very quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's almost like the adults in your life forget that you're a child. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
remember being 14, 15 with my aunts, not necessarily my mother, but my mother's sisters or, younger sisters, telling me things that I had no business knowing at 14, 15.
Mm-hmm.
And while it was fun to listen to them, some of their stories about them and their men, it was very difficult to process because I was not even Like I wasn't even there, if you know what I mean. I was
Mhm.
being given adult material and being expected somehow to handle it. Like they would talk to me like I was their buddy or their friend.
Mhm.
And it's very confusing when that happens. And when I look back and you know, I ask myself, like like what were these women thinking telling me these things at 14 years old? Like I had no
It's
business
messed
knowing
up.
some of the
It,
things that they were sharing.
it's messed up because all along, I remember, waking up in my 20s or even my 30s, and sometimes confused, kind of expecting the parents. And then I'm like, oh no, I'm the parents, like real parents. And I feel throughout the years, there's a part of the child inside that gets stuck at the age of the trauma.
That's it.
Sometimes I have to say, oh, I'm over 40 now, and I look, back and ask myself, when did I grow up? So it's just it's a mess. It's really a mess. It's a confusion. It's a lot of healing there too.
Yeah, and we have to heal those little girls. We have to go deep inside and find them and bring them up to speed, because when you're stuck with that trauma, like for me, I was stuck at 12 for a very long time. I mean, I didn't realize it because, like I said, I went from 12 to 30 in terms of my responsibilities and the external things I had to do. But I got stuck at 12 years old, and I had to do work where I had to, oh, it was the most excruciating work, because you find yourself, like I said, for me, it was like 25, 26, and I just felt like I was stuck. Like you can feel that you're stuck somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And why you're stuck is because you're you missed out on a certain phase in your life. You know, we grow in stages, right? We grow in stages. You've got that stage where you're an infant, where you everybody's taking care of you. Then you have that age between being an infant or a baby. So from the age of, let's say, 5 to about the age of, say, 12, 13, 14, that's another stage that you have to actually live through and be a child of that age. And then from that age through your teenage years up until your 20s, that's a whole nother stage. I have a huge chunk
Mm-hmm.
that I missed because I stayed stuck there because I had to go from 12
Mm-hmm.
to 30.
Mm-hmm.
But but what people don't realize is psychologically and spiritually you're still stuck there as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience and understanding and development that I didn't get. I really didn't get. And toward as an adult, it shows. It shows in the way um, that I raise my kids. It shows in a relationship. It shows, there's a lack of maturity that I didn't get. My kids, I spoiled them like they're rotten. All this the trauma that I got, I didn't want them to suffer that. So my firstborn daughter, Lori, just well, like if she doesn't want to do the dishes, well, she doesn't do the dishes. A lot of it's almost like I go,
The opposite extreme.
yeah.
It's called overcompensation.
Hmm.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah, we have 4 children.
Yeah, overcompensation where literally you are telling yourself that you don't want your kids to go through what you went through, so you go to the extreme where in the end you're not actually mothering them. They're just kind of running the show and you're letting them, which again is not healthy either, because we know that all kids need boundaries and all kids need you to be the parent who gives instruction and guides.
Hmm. Yeah.
The other thing too for me, Jocelyn, and I don't know how you feel about this, but there was always the assumption that I knew how to do certain things.
Uh-huh. You know everything.
Yeah. So, for example, first period, my first period, it was assumed I would know that this is happening now, and therefore I knew how to navigate.
Uh-huh.
But that's, and this happened, I think, at 13 for me. So already there was, it's almost like I was no longer one of the four kids. There was my
Mm-hmm.
mother, the adult, then there was me, the mini adult, and then there
Mm-hmm.
were these three who were
Mm-hmm.
taken care of pretty much like kids, mostly
Mm-hmm.
by me too, assisting my mother. So then, me, with the things that I needed to be taught as a young girl, that didn't happen. I had to figure it out on my own.
Yeah, a lot of time we hear how you didn't know. Really? You didn't know that? And the blame and
She's gone. I don't. Oh, you're
yeah.
back.
And then is the constant blame and shame is, and when I make mistake, it's like it's out of proportion. It's like, really, you didn't know that, or it's because you don't listen. But nobody told me nothing. Nobody put sit me down and explain me how life is supposed to be. You have to get burned and learn.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I was talking about earlier on, that the punishments that you got for doing the same things that your siblings, it doesn't match. Like, you make a mistake, it was like you had murdered somebody. Excuse me, I hope I don't get shut down. But you had unalived somebody, whereas your siblings could do the exact same thing, and the most they would get was, meh, 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 and then it's over. Anyway, anyone else want to request? Anyone want to come on and share their experience? This is a kind of a sharing, but also kind of a healing session. I mean, a lot of the times when we don't have these conversations, we don't have spaces where we can talk about these things honestly. And we are in that age where, like I said, firstborn daughters, we got to heal. We got to heal. Got a lot of work ahead of us. And we've got a lot of responsibility, whether we like it or not, but we've got to be whole, so that as we are balanced within ourselves, as we move on with these responsibilities. Somebody says, "Wow, this conversation is triggering me." Come on, let's talk. Let's deal with it. Once you're triggered, it means there's something that needs healing there. Here's somebody who's coming on. Togoza, Togoza,
Emakhosini, emakhosini.
Togoza, emakhosini ninjani?
Ngiyaphila unjani gogo?
Siyaphila. Please do share experience, tell us, where do you fall in that hierarchy?
I'm I'm definitely a firstborn daughter.
Mm-hmm,
Recently found out that I'm spiritually gifted as well.
mm-hmm,
Whew, it's been tough. It's been really tough because now I'm navigating, seeing everything that's happening and getting my life in order. It's been tough, and not having that support from your parents has honestly made me feel like, yeah, you're definitely on your own on this one.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and I feel like with born daughters, they have to understand. We have to understand that after some time, it does get easier because you do learn how to become self-sufficient. You become self-sufficient, but it comes at a cost, in a sense that you need to heal from the things that hurt you. You need to understand that most of the time, when people do things to you, especially your family members, oh, this is so triggering,
It's okay,
especially
babe.
your family members,
Mm. Take some deep breaths.
um,
Yeah.
it gets to a point where you need to forgive them as well so that you can heal and understand that they did things not understanding how much they would affect you in future. And being a spiritually gifted person, you have to learn to forgive, because as firstborn daughters, you do carry that anger into your adulthood, and nothing actually moves spiritually when you are operating from a place of anger or sadness. Well, that's what I've learned.
Thokoza.
So yeah, yeah,
Well, here's the
definitely
thing
Gogo.
too, as you're speaking, that just came to me. They are firstborn daughters who are born into karmic families. Do you know what a karmic family is?
Yes, I do know Gogo.
So now imagine the double whammy. You are a firstborn daughter in a karmic family. You're a firstborn daughter in which you are the black sheep of that family. You're a
Oh,
firstborn
definitely.
daughter in which that you just it's almost like you feel like, how did I end up being born to these people? It is
Mm,
a very, very and firstborn daughters born into karmic families have a lot of inner work to do because there is a lot of wounding in childhood. And sometimes it starts even when they are babies, when they are infants, where the sense of rejection is felt when you're still an infant. And remember, one of the things people don't realize is we don't just remember here. This is not where the memory lies, as we've been told by palm-colored creatures. The memory lies in your cells. That's why we get triggered. That's why when we talk about certain things, you literally feel it in your body. Why are you feeling it in
definitely.
your body? Because it's your body that
It's
remembers.
part of you.
So when you are a firstborn daughter born into a karmic family, yay, yeah. But then the calling says, that ancestral calling which you have, that calling says uyathwasiswa, meaning you are going through initiation from the day that you come into that family. Do you understand me? People
Mm-hmm.
often think that your initiation is going to initiation school and going through that whole thing. That may be part of your journey. But if, for example, you're one of these people whose ancestors are going to initiate you themselves, trust me, being born into a karmic family is an initiation in and of itself. And
So it
whether you are initiating in an initiation school, eskupeni, or you are being initiated as you live your life, any initiation process is not easy.
so it doesn't just start as soon as you discover your spiritual
No,
gift.
no. Definitely not.
Your whole life
You
has
are
been an
discovering, see,
initiation.
you are coming into consciousness that you're spiritually gifted now. However, you've been spiritually gifted the moment that your mother started. In fact, the moment you incarnated here, you came with those gifts. Remember, you were already
Mm-hmm.
chosen to be the standard bearer. So your work, your initiation starts back then. We may not call it initiation, but we are twice when from the time that you come into this world. That's when your work begins. The work of preparing
Definitely.
you for the greater work. Now, when you then
Mm.
become conscious that you're spiritually gifted, or let's call it ancestrally gifted, to differentiate. When you come into the realization through certain signs, through certain dreams, through certain visions, sometimes through strangers telling you that you are ancestrally gifted, that's you just becoming aware of a process that started way back when you were born. Do you get?
I understand, Coco.
Thokoza.
I get it. I get
So,
it.
yes, Thokoza. So hard though it may be to hold this position as the firstborn daughter, I think understanding that doesn't take the pain away, because that pain can only get taken away through healing. But what it does is it gives you a sigh of relief that it makes sense somehow. Now,
Mm.
if what I always say is you have to come to a place of acceptance, because one of the things that a lot of firstborn daughters struggle with is the why me, right? Is that why am I being treated like this? We get
That's
stuck
very
in our
true.
pain and we get stuck on the things that were done to us. But what we fail to realize that actually this was part of a process to get you to where you need to get to. Once you come
Totally
to
agree.
that acceptance, then the healing journey to forgiving, to healing your inner wounds, that becomes easier. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, Gogo.
Togoza, Togoza.
Togoza, Gogo.
I wish you all the best on your journey. I'm sending you healing energy. I'm sending you so much love. You will be
Oh,
just fine. You see, I am so confident in all my firstborn sisters in Lovgazi because I know what we're made of. Like we've been through the fires of
definitely,
testing. Like we've been through
definitely.
some fires, like sometimes literally even. And I
On my
know
work.
you're gonna come
Mm,
through at the end.
thank you, Gogo. Thank you so much.
Gogo, I have a question about you mentioned about initiation, right? Um,
Coco, can you like mute yourself? That way we won't get interference. I intend to post this on YouTube, so thank you. Yeah, bo.
you're talking about initiation. Been born and have somebody come up to consciousness at 20, 30. Like me, I was almost 40 when I start shifting from the religion and turning around. So it's what, 30, 40 years of school, life school.
Of initiation, yes. Listen, just so you do know that in ancient Kemet, initiation was 30 to 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do the math. Do the math.
Yep, I've been there.
Right. So you are now a library of experience. You are now a library. And that's why the healing becomes so important because once you heal, you are a massive resource for so many others who are experiencing the same thing that you went through. And you now have the power and the strength to walk them through that journey without falling apart yourself.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So yes, you're still in initiation school, right? But and it's not easy, right? The initiation is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Anyone else want to request? I see someone else is here. Let's see who this is. There we go. Greetings, Togoza. How are you?
Thokoza gogo, ngiyaphila unjani?
Siyaphila. So,
Yebo.
firstborn daughter?
Yes, that's me. And I'm not only the firstborn daughter, I am the first grandchild as well.
Nice.
And it's big because I think I come from a karmic family because of the treatment at home as well, and how I had to raise. I grew up with my grandmother. My grandmother raised me. Not that my mother was not around, but they did have certain issues because she had me when she was a teenager and all that. And so I stayed with my grandmother. And then after, I think when I turned 8 or around 7, my sister came to join me after. Because I think my mom was not leaving the environment that she was in was not safe for us or good for us, as they say. But my sister came and joined me, and I lived with my cousin brother as well, that comes after my sister. So it was just the three of us, and we were just raised like siblings. But I could see that the treatment like me and my sister were receiving, especially me, was very, very different. I literally was the person that had to do everything in the house. Like, I was never taught anything. I was never taught how to get up, prepare for school. I had to literally learn that all by myself. The principles and the values that I have in life right now, I learned from myself, by myself. And I feel like I'm very different from from my family. I literally had no role model or anything like that. And like the things that happened in my life, I'm even shocked at why like nothing really big actually happened to me. And I just feel like I've raised my sister, and me and my sister had a conversation because we used to fight a lot, like recently, like not get along and fight a lot. And we came and moved in with my mom when we were very, very much older. And so when we moved in with my mom already had 5 more kids after me and my sister. And they were very much younger. And my mother, mind you, she doesn't know our personalities. She doesn't know what type of people we are. And it was just a mess.
Yeah.
It was just a big mess.
May I
Like,
share something that's coming to me, if you don't mind?
yes.
So what I'm picking up too is that your mother had you as a teenager. So what that means is you also carry your mother's trauma,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You also carry your mother's trauma. So that is a lot, and that's a lot of healing that needs to happen there, because you have to you what I'm when I say your mother's trauma, I'm talking about what we call pre-birth trauma. You know that we can pick up trauma from our mothers when we are in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're two in one basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a spiritual perspective, anything your mother goes through, you go through. Any emotions your mother feels, you're going to feel those emotions. You are not necessarily going to feel them in a cognitive way where you know that my mother is sad, therefore I'm sad. But those emotions are transmitted and they sit in your cells.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you, I'm just going to put it out there for the others, and I'm going to carry on with me. I'll give an example to maybe make it a little bit more understandable. I don't know if you've ever had this phenomenon where there's a child, say, born into the family or born to the neighbors or someone, and this child is born, and this child is so sad. Like a sad baby, a baby that just cries and cries and cries and is miserable. And
Mm-hmm.
even when they are beyond, when they get to the stage where you can differentiate the features of this child, you just look into the eyes and it's like, why does this child carries a deep sadness? Well, that's because our mothers transmit. That's why if people understood what pregnancy was, women would get better care during pregnancy than they do. So all the abuse that happens during pregnancy, the fetus absorbs that and it sits in this fetus's cell. And this is carried post birth and on into life.
Mm-hmm.
So the healing, and that's what I picked up for you, because the minute you started talking about, the minute you said your mom was a teenager when she had you, I just heard Ukoko say, yeah, there's a lot of healing of that needs to happen with you.
Yeah.
In terms of your experience as a firstborn child, that is the experience of many of us. There is a programming that happens with us. Like you say, you're very different from the rest of your family. Your moral code, your ethics, your way of doing things, you had to learn that yourself. The truth is, you already had that in you, because all of us have this thing. We are born with this. It's called ma'at, which is this internal compass that tells us right from wrong. A 2-year-old will know right from wrong, right? It's social programming that then has us, for example, where a child is about to put a hand in the fire and you slap their hand to say, no, don't do it. That's kind of a way of teaching. But it's also really not even necessary, because for the most part, we have this internal code within us called ma'at, which tells us right from wrong. So in you, it was activated sooner because there were no external people trying to guide you. So that code had to, your higher self had to connect with that code so that you could go through life and miss all the pitfalls. It's interesting you say that because sometimes I look at my own life and I'm like, man, how did I even end up here? And how am I even still alive? Because some of the places I've been to and the things that I've encountered, and somehow I've known how to get out of them.
Yeah.
But I also know that our ancestors are very protective of umafungwashe. Ancestors are very protective of that firstborn child because you are the standard there.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us have found ourselves in situations where it's like, when I look back now, I literally get heart palpitations like what was I even thinking? Taking myself to a place. But you find that I was so heavily protected. When I look back, I'm like, nah. They were standing guard saying, yeah.
It's not normal. Like, it's not normal. Like, I could tell that, like, sometimes I would just feel like talking. There's no one in the room. There's no one in the room, just by myself. I'll just talk. I don't know what should I do in this situation. What should I do? At that time, I'm 9 years old, 10 years old. My sister is looking at me for guidance.
Yeah, fix it.
Because we have nobody.
She's saying fix it.
Because there's literally no one. She's looking at me and I'm just like, I just have no one to look at and to look forward to ask for advice or anything. And we just had a conversation recently because me and my sister used to butt heads, like, because she couldn't differentiate now that we're older. Now we can be friends. Now she can open up to me about stuff. Now we can talk and have conversations about other things. All she could see me is that big sister. And she put me
let me set you straight right there. She's not seeing a big sister, Nana. Let me set you straight. She's seeing her mother. Do you understand? You become more than big sister. You become mom. My siblings are the same with me. My siblings, and we're all adults now, by the way. We're all grown. Everybody's in their own home doing their own thing. But I tell you, they see me as their mother. Therefore, by themselves, the three of them, they have a separate group, not the physical group, but they have things they talk about amongst themselves, all their foolery and all the mistakes they're making and stuff. When they come to me, like literally, because they see me as a mother figure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you, Gog.
So you're frustrated because you're looking for a sibling relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But that's never going to happen because of your position. And because, like I said, when you say she's looking at 9, 10 years old, your little sister's looking for you to fix it. Who fixes things? Mom or dad fixes. But there you were. So you're her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So she can't see you as a sibling. So you will get frustrated like I did. And for many years, I would cry and say to my siblings, why do you guys keep things away from me? But it was only later I discovered that, no, man, I mothered these people.
Mm-hmm.
They see my mom and me as like this, as the two parents.
True. And it just makes you feel like an outcast because I feel like I don't have relationship with none of them because the other ones are literally like after my sister, me and my sister like 4 years apart. And then after her from the third born downwards, I'm like, I think with the third born, I'm 20 years apart, if not 16. Wow. So it's a big gap to go downwards. And it's like, I feel like an outcast. It's like I cannot rebuild that sister relationship or sibling.
You're not their sisters. You can never be their sister.
Yeah.
And this is another point I forgot to mention, that to your siblings, you even if there's a 1 year age gap, you still end up with the parental role. Like you've heard us all speak about the fact that we practically raised our siblings in one way, shape, or form. So they can't see you. You are yearning for a sibling relationship. What you need to do, like I said, is come to a place of acceptance of your position, right? And come to accept that your position is a unique position in that sibling relationship. Therefore, they will have relationships, but at the end, and this is what you must, if there's any take home, especially for you, I feel like this is a message specifically for you. Get ready to be the leader.
Okay.
You need to heal and then get ready to take your role and your responsibilities because they are coming. They're coming if they're not already there. That position you hold is not an accident, right?
It's my purpose, yeah.
Yeah, thokoza. And that's what I'm
I
trying to get all the firstborn children to come on board and understand that while it's painful, while it's horrible, while while sometimes you're just like, listen, and sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you're like, I'm shutting everybody out because I need me. I need to do me. I need to heal. I would say you can't always heal in the space that you were broken. So sometimes it's okay to take a time out, a 6-month time out, send a message once in a while, but really take time to heal properly so that you can be ready for your role and responsibilities. They won't feel so heavy once you've healed because you'll know how to take better care of yourself and you'll know how to set the boundaries that are necessary so that you are okay.
Yeah.
Togo's.
Yeah. Yeah, boy.
Okay, if you can mute yourself, Gogo. You had a question, I think, at some point. Guys, you can request to come on if you feel like. Please request.
Gogo, does this apply like when it comes to having your siblings look up to you as this person that has everything figured out? Can this apply also to other people outside of your family? Because I blatantly remember in some situations where I was like pushed into being the leader, no matter what the situation was.
Yeah.
Like I could just arrive and somebody would just push you. Oh, Tabi Singh will do that. I'm Tabi Singh, by the way. Tabi Singh will do that. Tabi Singh will do this and that. So it's like now that you're saying all of this, it's starting to make sense in a way. Not only does my sister look up to me, and you need to have this guidance, and then sometimes you don't know where the knowledge comes from. You would just know what to do. And with people as well, I would get people much older than me coming through and asking me things, and yeah.
You know what? We carry that energy wherever you go, like Jay is saying in the comments. But also remember, Peter Makos, what is a king or a queen?
A leader.
Togo's. That's it. So you see why I say
Yeah,
intwaso iqala when you were born, because you're born with this gift. You were being
definitely.
groomed for this position of ubukosi. Nazo.
Thokoza.
The Togos. I'm sorry. I laugh because you know what? Like I'm a happy person by nature. So if I have an option to laugh or cry, I choose to laugh. But I'm not making light of the issues. These are very important issues. That's why I bring them up. But I also want to help you understand, right? Like now it clicked, right? When I said, what is a king or a queen? Right? A leader, the ultimate leader. That's why I said you're being prepared, yes, for the role and responsibility within your family, but also now within community, right?
Yes,
Ilap.
Gogo.
So ilap, Makos. We have someone else. Let's see who else is going to be. Let's see. Somebody else is here. Lorraine fucking. The fucking. I'm a cause putting now. Aziz. Let's see which one is this one. Thokoza Lorraine.
Makhosi.
Makhosi njani?
I'm sorry, I laugh a lot.
Well, good. So you and me together, we can just have a laughing fest
Yeah.
here. How are you?
Really, even it's I'm all good, thanks, and how are you?
I'm good. So tell me, what are you? Firstborn? Ah, you have to go
Yes, I'm
firstborn
a
if you're here.
firstborn
Yes.
daughter.
Mm. Welcome,
Oh.
welcome to the family.
Thank you so much. So, Coco, how do you? Okay, I witnessed a lot growing up, you know, and at some point I felt like I needed to be a protector of my mother because every week I couldn't even go and visit my friends or what because I felt like I needed to be here for my mom because my father was beating my mom up every weekend. So now, okay, they're still together for some odd reason, but I everything is on me. My father brings his baggage to me. My mother brings their baggage to me. Even in therapy, my therapist told them that you cannot drag this child into everything. You understand? Like my father could complain to me, my mother could complain to me, and then they complain about me. I
So
don't know if that makes
basically,
sense.
so you guys are in family therapy?
No, I was the one in therapy.
Okay.
I I was diagnosed with PTSD and
Yeah.
bipolar type 2. So it's been a struggle for me. It's been a struggle. So yes, last year I was extremely suicidal.
Mm.
And then my therapist suggested that I bring my parents in so that I can tell them how I truly feel because I can't voice out I don't know how to talk. You
Right.
know. Even now, I think it was like 2 weeks back, I finally told my mom how oh, we were kind of arguing, not talking, kind of arguing. And I spoke up for myself and she was like, "Are you back chatting?" I'm like, "You asked a question and I'm answering and I'm back chatting."
Mm.
So it's like, Libona, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm getting palpitations.
Just take deep breath.
So it's like they also want me to keep quiet.
I'm
It's like
sending
they
energy.
like
So I'm sending you healing energy. So if you feel a shift in your body, like your heart starts beating, just start taking deep breaths. It's okay. You'll be fine. Okay. So keep talking. Deep breaths.
I am so tired. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry. I don't
don't
know.
be
I'm so
sorry.
nervous.
This is what this space is for. And I know why you're crying because I'm pulling it out of you. It's okay. Just dedela. Just let the dam burst. It's okay. We are here to hold space for each other. Those who don't want to be here, they don't need to be here. But just let it come. Just let it come. It's okay. We're holding space for you. Mm. Mm. It's okay. Mm. Take one long deep breath. Go. Let it out. Let it out. Mm. 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 Lots and lots and lots of pain. Lots of pain, Lorraine. Lots of pain. But you're on your healing journey, you know. For the fact that you can talk about it, is a step. And I'm glad that you're in therapy too. Like I said to you, do you know that sometimes it's okay to move away and sequester yourself for your healing? You do know that it's okay.
I know, and I wanted to do that for the longest time. Like, I was in therapy last year because now I'm no longer working. I was working, and so I'm no longer working now. I can't, even when I was working, I couldn't move away. You know, it's like we've got this.
It's a toxic dynamic,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I see a lot of trauma bonding, particularly between you and your mother.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there's a huge trauma bond there, and that's what's keeping you stuck. But remember that
I think,
to love
mhm,
mom in a healthy way, you yourself have got to be well.
true. The thing is with mom, I am so, like, if I'm being honest, right? I am so angry with my mom.
Yes.
Honestly, so.
And I'm glad you're
So,
being
and
honest about that anger, because many of us feel guilty for being angry. Your anger is the little girls that are stuck in there that had to witness things that they shouldn't have been witnessing, because it's the job of a parent to protect their child, not the other way around. So the anger is those traumatized little girls that are like, why weren't you there to protect me from this?
yeah, why
It's
did you stay?
why did you
Why
stay?
did you stay? Even now, you know, the physical abuse is no longer there, but emotionally, Lena, she's not okay. Even her, she's not okay. No one, my little brother, no one is okay. Like, my father is so toxic, toxic to everyone around him in this house. We cannot sit together as a family. When he comes, even if we're sitting with our mom, when he comes, my brother and I, we go our separate ways. We go to our rooms. You
You know what?
know, I'm so grateful for this moment. In fact, because I was telling a stranger, total stranger, yesterday that, you know, I'm in so much pain. I can feel it. I can feel it, but I can't cry.
But I'm glad you
I
cried.
can't. And hence I said I'm so grateful for this moment. I cried, and it feels good.
It feels good, doesn't it? Feels so
It
good.
feels good. Even though it hurts, but it feels good.
You know what? Let those tears flow. Just let them flow. Don't. That's why I was sending, because your heart chakra is tight. So by sending the energy I was sending, and you were saying, why am I feeling heart palpitations? I was literally sending energy to kind of break, because we don't want you to have a heart of stone because of this. You're a beautiful, beautiful soul. You have the most beautiful energy, and we want you. We need you whole. So, you know, if you need me, and this doesn't have to be for a paid consultation. I'm happy to facilitating a proper full energy healing session for you. Just go on my page. There is a number there. I'm wearing a white duke and Njeti cloth, and on there is my number. Send me a message and I'll create time just so I can take you through, maybe a 30-45 minute energy healing, so we can break this pain apart some more.
Thank
Yeah?
you so much. I appreciate it.
Most welcome. Thank Gogo. She's the one who's whispering to me with AMC Zumtuan. So,
Ngimakhosi Nicole.
yes,
Ngibulele.
so goes. Love you.
Ngimakhosi. I love you so much.
Have a good night, my
And
love.
honestly, so I'm saying this with a smile.
Yay! So you see how we laugh and we cry. We laugh and we smile through our tears. That's what Indumirazi is. So you're a powerful being and you're strong. And for everything you've been through, doesn't make sense now. But if you would take my word for it for now, it will make sense one day. Soon too. Ne? Yeah. So contact me and come for a little session with me, and we'll work on that healing.
I definitely will.
Chokos,
I
love you.
definitely will.
All right.
Love you
Anyone else?
too.
Any comments? Anything else? Anyone? You can mute yourself, Lorraine. Request those who
Thank
want to
you.
request. I see a lot of people are crying in the comments. Come and cry here with us. Don't cry by yourself. Come. I'll send you some healing energy and
Mm-mm.
start breaking open those things that are these things are binding us, man. Ish. Hey, we are supposed to be free and happy. But come. Anyone else want to come on board?
It's me, is there anyone else requesting, or should I continue?
I see someone here, my love. Let's see who else is here. There's several people here. I've got 3 requests. Okay, so I'm gonna put Sani on. And then, guys, those who are requesting, I see your requests. I'll put, I think I'm limited to how many people I can have on. So I may need to ask some of the people who've been on to drop off so I can bring someone. So, was Asani?
Towards Gogo,
How are you?
I am feeling wholesome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, this is a very powerful session. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be here because I am not a firstborn daughter. I am actually a last. But just being here in this space, like from all the powerful queens that have been speaking and those in the comment sections, I am so touched because I myself am a lastborn daughter, though raised in a family with 2 parents. My big sister, we were 5 or 6 kids in total, 4 daughters and 2 sons, and my big sister is actually like the second born child. So I have a big brother who's the actual firstborn, but from my entire life, I never saw my brother step up as the firstborn child. My sister is actually referred to as the firstborn in our family.
How was I? Said it. I
And
did say it.
and this woman, like all my life, we have my sister and I have a 9-year age gap, and I've always seen her like playing this motherly role in my life or in everyone's life, basically. And she is giving to her detriment. In her adulthood, like from when I was still like a child in nursery school, kindergarten, primary school, she used to wake up at like 4 a.m., make lunch boxes for everyone because she was the oldest. And at the time, there were probably like 5 of us going to school. She'd make the lunch boxes and then go and catch a train to her school and come back around 5. My mom, dad still at work, comes back about 5 p.m. She is cooking, cleaning the house, helping with homework. And growing up, like, I didn't like her. I didn't like her. She was bossy. She was,
Bossy. I knew you were gonna
yeah.
say that.
I actually like always thought of her as this person that wants to be in charge and in control. But now that I'm at the age, I'm 32 now, and I'm realizing how much of a weight that this person or burden that she carried and so much responsibility. Because if I wasn't at home at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., or if my parents came back, my homework wasn't done, I was not bathed, it all
You
fell on
got
her.
into trouble.
She got into trouble. And she started working, I think she started working at about 23 or 20, yeah, around 22, 23. She came back because financially my parents were not doing so well. So she also carried the burden of now raising us financially as well. She had to pay for school fees. She had to pay for clothes. Like, like back in the day, we were still celebrating these Christmas holidays. She had to buy Christmas clothes for all the siblings. And like, it was just a
And
lot.
probably bought nothing for herself, right?
Yes.
She did nothing for herself. And now I see her, she is I think she's 44 now. And I see this woman who's trying so much to prove to the world that she can do everything, and still to her detriment, because she does, like, I feel like there's something missing in her life right now. She starts things like, and she never finishes them and moves on to start something else. She's in these toxic relationships where she's abused financially, emotionally, and she's still there. She doesn't leave. She can't do anything nice for herself. She actually feels like, when there are family funerals or big family events, like extended family, she'll always be at the forefront leading those things. She'll take out all her money to bury people, like bury people that, like, I don't even know what relationship we have, or I've never seen this person in my whole life, and she'll walk in and say, this is our cousin's funeral, we have to step up. She's always doing things like that. She's so giving.
No,
And
it's the people pleasing. It's
it,
the people pleasing and the lack of boundaries. There's a lot of wounding there.
there is a lot of wounding, and there's something even she recently got into, which is gambling.
Oh,
She's that person that is now gambling, and now when I, just because of this session, it makes me, like, I acknowledge that this person is going through a lot.
whew.
I feel like she has to overcompensate. And now that we've grown up, we don't need her to do all those things. Like, I can take care of myself. My sisters can do that. But whenever there's an opportunity for someone else to step in and help out, maybe my mom is ill, or she'll get into debt trying to still prove that she's the one who's in charge.
She's not trying to prove that she's the one in charge, my baby. It's a deep-seated programming. She's operated based on that program for what, 40 plus years of her life, or however long, let's just say for 30 years of her life. That is a program that is going to need to be removed and a new program written into her. There's a lot of healing that's required to do that work. I also hear that she has a lot of PTSD. There's a lot that has happened to her that you guys don't even know about, because she kept it away from you. So yeah, I'm not trying to consult her or anything, but literally I just had a flood of this. And usually that response is a cellular response, which tells me, as I'm thinking of her, that she has a lot of PTSD, and she needs a lot of healing work. And I hear the emotion in your voice, Standasam. I hear the deep pain in your own voice for her. And you know that you can help her, right? You know that you can help her. The key thing with especially firstborn daughters who have just taken their role very seriously is you need to tread lightly in terms of how to say things. But for example, you know what? Do things for her. Because we are forgotten a lot of the times because we're doing for everybody. Invite her for lunch one day. Just tell her, look, or book her a massage, and just tell her, I'm going to pick you up. I have something special for you. Because nobody does for us, because we seem to be so self-sufficient that nobody actually ever thinks of us. And because of the energy we embody, the energy of competence, the energy of I can do it all, most people overlook the fact that we're actually human too, and it's so nice to receive. So do something like that, book a spa somewhere, and then just go get her and say, hey, you know what are you doing? I've got something special for you. Please just come with me. Don't tell her what this is for. Don't tell her where she's going, because we also have a tendency of not being able to accept gifts graciously.
Yes.
Because there's a sense in it, because we're not used to it. So If you tell her, oh, sis, I want to book you a spa, she'll tell you, I know, don't worry about it. Put the money to good use somewhere. She'll find a way to wiggle out of it. Take it from somebody who knows by experience. So what
Yes.
you do is you book this thing, you take her there. She has a head to toe massage, and she's probably going to break down and cry during that massage because she's holding so much.
Thank you, Coco.
Ne? And then after that, you guys can go out for lunch or somewhere and really just make it about her.
I'll definitely do something like that.
She'll try to make it about you, but be conscious. She'll try to make it about you by sort of starting to ask, so what's going on with you? Is everything going on okay? Hey, find a way to tell her to evade those questions and keep it about her.
Thank you so much, Coco.
Togos.
Okay.
I think I have one more person. I'm going to take one more person. And then I'm going to take one more person and then we'll probably call it a night. We've been here for a while. Togoza.
Samako Coco, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
Yo, I'm so triggered by today's session, Coco. Yo. So I'm a firstborn daughter. Out of three, I have an older brother, but we don't stay with him. So my parents are still alive, but the upbringing I had was a very abusive one, Coco. My dad was a very, very abusive man. Oh, Coco. Having to, I think it's still stuck with me, having to come from school as a 7-year-old, seeing my mom lying on the floor, my dad not caring, me having to make her something to eat using a kettle where I was not even taught how to. Yeah, as firstborn daughters, we always have to take responsibility for our little siblings' actions, having to account for that, and also having to take care of everyone else, Gogo. It's so overwhelming because everyone comes to you for advice. Mind you, Gogo, I don't know, I'm so young. I'm literally 21 years old. But apart from focusing on school, I have to listen to my dad, how he feels, my little brother, my mother. I have to help with my little brother's academics, and at times I'm like, but I am not the parent. They're both there, but I have to help. And I realized that I have a lot of anger, Gogo. I have a lot of sadness. And I found that it gets in the way of me being in romantic relationships.
Yeah.
I think the moment I realized that I had a lot of anger or a lot of hurt was when we had a healing service at church, and Gogo, I just cried in front of everyone. I just cried. I'm not one who cries, but the way I cried that day, oh, Gogo.
Yeah. It's the little girls inside of you crying. It's the 7-year-old crying who found her mother on the floor. So you can cry tears for years. Do you see what I'm saying? It's good that you're able to cry, but you also need a space where you can transmute this anger so that it doesn't become a poison inside your system. Anytime we hold anger and it sits in us, it's one of the things that causes these hormonal changes in our body that sets us up for disease. So on a physical level, there's that. On a spiritual level, when you harbor so much anger, you cannot ascend. When you harbor that much anger, you cannot raise your vibration. You have a lot of anger, but there's also resentment. A lot of resentment, especially because your parents continue to perpetuate this and you're still in the house, correct?
Yes, Gogo.
And there's no way that you can sit both your parents down by yourself and tell them how you feel, correct?
Yes, Gogo.
Because probably there'll be a violent explosion and you're ungrateful and how dare you speak to us like that? You are a child in this house, correct?
Yes, Gogo.
Okay, so here's what I would do if I were you. If there is an adult, particularly on your mother's side, that you trust, this is a person that you can go to and really tell them how it's been for you.
I struggle opening up, Gogo. You know what's the sad part? I'm now the civilian also for my father's side of the family for sticking up for my mom, for saying that you guys have this line of abuse, like this generational abuse, and I just want it to end with my mother. I don't want it to be experienced by other people. As much as I am this person who has resentment and anger, I'm slow when it comes to, physical, like being physical. Whenever I'm angry, I really try, Gogo, to control my emotions.
Yeah, yeah. And you have very high emotional intelligence. I can sense that. But still, the anger that sits in your cells needs to be processed out of your cells. And remember what I said, you cannot heal in the same space where you were wounded, particularly around people who are not changing their behaviors. You see? So somehow, there has to be a way. Is there a way you can get into therapy?
I've tried, but I guess it's not working.
You know, it's that thing again where you can be in therapy, but at the same time, why therapy would be good for you is that you can get your therapist to call your parents in for a session. And that would be a perfect safe space for you to really vent. Because the therapist is there to moderate and to ensure that the safe space that you need to express yourself is created. Does that make sense?
Thokoza, Gogo.
I would consider that, Nana. I would really consider, you know, reconnecting with your therapist, and you can ask her, can we get my parents in for a session? Because I feel like a lot of what I'm dealing with right now has to do with them. And since they're both still alive, I'd like a moment. Now, how they choose to react and respond to what you have to say, that is no longer your business. But it is important that they hear what they are, how what they are doing affects you and what they have done affects you. For all you know, by now your father has long forgotten the incident when you were 7 years old. He's going to be shocked probably when he hears you say it. A lot of parents are usually shocked about the traumatic events that their children went through because bona sebeyidlulisile. They've moved on from it, but you are, the 7-year-old is still stuck there. And she's the one now who needs to express herself through you by telling them that. Do you remember that at the age of 7, I came into the house and this and you need to be able to verbalize that to them. And all the other things or anything else that you need to verbalize. You need to be able to verbalize to them that why is the responsibility of raising my brother falling on me when both of you are still alive? I don't mind helping once in a while, but why has it become my duty to take care of him? Those are legitimate questions you need to ask because a lot of our parents are simply perpetuating things that they experienced. What our parents are bringing to the table is what they believe parenting to be based on how they were parented. This is what I talked about, the generational trauma. So someone needs to put a stop nonsense to it. And the way that happens is someone needs to jolt them to the reality that actually what you're doing is not normal.
Mm.
It's going to take a lot of courage, but umumafungwashi, you're the firstborn daughter. You have it in you to do that. And you're doing it not just for yourself, but you're doing it for generations to come. Think about that.
True, Gogo, true.
It's a lot. You're only 21, but you got this.
Yo, Gogo, even speaking about, the how when it comes to the generational upbringings, I even see that with my mother and I's relationship, Gogo, it is not good. As much as we communicate, I see how her relationship and her mother has affected us. As much as I protect her, but she's also hating me in the process, because how can you say, I wish I had aborted you?
Oh, eyeball.
How can you say that? And it's a matter of, what's the other one, Gogo, that you once said? I remember 2 days before I had lost a friend due to suicide, and I genuinely did not feel like celebrating my birthday that day, and they had made me breakfast. And I had said to them, you know what? Said you can have the breakfast, but genuinely I do not want to celebrate my birthday.
Right, you
And
just
the
lost a
one
friend.
thing and the one thing she said, she was like, why don't you join her? These
Oh,
are the things that still scar me, Gogo, because it's a thing of I'm trying to have a relationship with you, and even when I tell you that you're hurting me, it's a thing of you gaslighting me. You don't want to acknowledge how I feel. Like I don't know whether I'm being delusional or what, Gogo, but I sense like she has more love for my brother than she has for me.
yeah.
Even when I hear her speak about how I was born, like how she had to raise me in that abusive situation, I can tell by her body language. She doesn't have to show through her emotions, just her body language tells me that there's a lot of unhappiness there.
Yeah, very much so. Very much. And, what I think, I really am convinced now that you need to drag your parents to a therapy session with you just so you can speak. Just so you can speak. So tell me, what level of school are you right now?
I'm currently doing my second year.
Okay, so you've got what, 2 more years?
Yes, Gogo.
What are you studying?
Law.
Oh, I'm gonna be a lawyer.
Yes, Gogo.
My baby. Have the courage, but I would encourage you to book a therapy session. Maybe go first time yourself so you can explain to your therapist what you feel needs to happen. And then, have her be the one who reaches to your parents to say, we really need you in this therapy session, so that space can be open for you to speak.
Mm.
They need to just be made aware, because like I'm saying, a lot of our parents are not conscious. They really are not, and they're very careless with their words. But you remember that she might have had words like that thrown at her too.
I think that's where I'm very understanding. I don't blame her, or like I'm not entirely angry at her, but I'm angry at her upbringing, because I also realized that her mom wasn't um mindful of the way that she was speaking towards her. And I also want to say, with this whole experience, it has given me a better example of a marriage, Coco,
Oh,
to the
wow.
point where, as much as I'm young, but I genuinely do not want to get married or have kids, because I do not want to be what my parents are, or have a partner like my dad.
And that's why your own healing becomes very important, because most times girls end up marrying their fathers, if you know what I mean. You end up marrying, if that programming is still there, that is the man you'll gravitate to, because there's a part of you that yearns for that father-daughter bond. And so you tend to gravitate towards men who are like your father. So it becomes a very dangerous thing. So that yes, on the conscious level, you're telling yourself, there's no way I will ever be like my mother, or there's no way I'll ever marry a guy like my dad. Well, lo and behold, you'll find one day that the people you keep attracting are people who are just like your father. It's because of that wound that's not been healed. You know, Nana, I wish you all the best. I'm going to be thinking of you. I'm going to be sending you lots of healing energy. But I think start there. Go back to your therapist, have a session, and then tell her you want her to help you invite your parents to a session so you can let them know what's going on. The therapist will be able to moderate and mediate and speak to the issues as they come up. So if your mom decides to gaslight you in that setting, she will have a way of making your mother see, or if you say something, she'll have a way of making your mother see, like, do you see where she's coming from, and break it down for your mom, probably into something she understands. Now, I'll tell you something for nothing. There may be a lot of defensiveness. There may also be a lot of shame, because sometimes when our parents send us to therapy, their thing is, hey, hambo deal nazo lezi, go and deal. They literally remove themselves from the equation, like they have nothing to do with the fact that you need therapy. And so it might end up that when you come home after that session, there might be that sense of defensiveness of why uzokhuluma indaba zethu phambi kwabantu. But the truth is, that's what you're in therapy for. Yeah? Let me know how you get on. I'd be interested to know how things work out for you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Coco. I feel lighter, I'm not gonna lie.
Good. Yay. I'm glad you feel lighter, Nana. Yeah. All right. I think we can close this session. Shall we close session? Yes, yes, yes. Shall we close session? Yeah, I think we'll close this session. So, firstborn daughters, there's a lot, right? Some of you didn't. Oh, thank you, Jane. Some of you didn't. Request to join, but I can sense that the energy here is a lot of triggering and a lot of pain. Remember that our triggers are there to show us where we need to heal. Yeah? So deep breaths. Please go drink some water. Water is life. Speak life to that water before you drink it. Tell it to go to all those spaces that need healing that you know nothing about, and then drink your water. Okay? Be gentle with yourself today, tomorrow, and as often as you possibly can. Be kind to yourself, firstborn daughter. Yeah? So until the next one, I love you. Thokozeni.